Welcome to Hope and Healing Through the Holidays. We're very fortunate to have you all join us. I am Christine Quinn, and I'm the founder of Living Kindness. And we have created a series of living kindness conversations, like what we're having this evening, to just give us the space to learn from each other, to share each other's stories and listen to stories, for all of us to grow and learn on our journeys of recovery. So thank you for joining us tonight. And tonight we also have a panel of Alyssa Dicker, Janice Garner, and Chris Vittetoe. And in a little bit, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves as well. But for tonight, what I was thinking that we would begin first by talking a little bit about the realities of the holidays. There are lots of social pressures around the holidays, and there's family traditions, and sometimes anxiety, sometimes family difficulties, and sometimes just joy. And so kind of talk about, what are really the realities of the holidays? And when we're talking about the holidays, they've already begun, right? Thanksgiving has begun, but there are many holidays, many different religions and traditions that are celebrating this time of year. And so we're inclusive of all of those holidays. And for our conversation tonight, we'll be talking about, in particular, substance misuse and how substance misuse can also impact what is happening around the holidays. And so that will be the nature of our conversation tonight. So again, we're going to talk about the realities of the holidays, how we navigate the holidays with compassion, how do we set boundaries, how do we protect ourselves, how do we create boundaries for others, and then also maybe what is the opportunity for us to reframe how we think about the holidays, as well as create new traditions. And while we have panelists with us who are all recovery coaches and all have life experiences, we also look for those of you who are our guests tonight to also share your stories and any insights you might have. So once again, thank you. And with that, I'm going to ask our panelists to just briefly introduce themselves, a little bit about what part of the country that they're coming from, because, actually countries, right? Because we have people north of the border tonight. So, where you're from and a little bit about what you do and what brings you to tonight's conversation. Alyssa.
I knew I was going to go first.
You're right there. So.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alyssa. I'm based in Ventura, California, which is a little north of Los Angeles. I am a certified recovery coach and a yoga teacher, and I am very passionate about the recovery space. I am sober myself. This is going to be my or I guess it is my fourth holiday season sober, which is crazy to say that out loud, but also very rewarding. And I'm just happy to be here tonight to share a little glimpse of how I've navigated different things during the holiday season.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. Janice?
Hi there. Greetings from north of the border. I'm Janice. I'm from Toronto. I am also a certified recovery coach, and my focus is on strategizing how families can help loved ones move towards a position of wanting to be on the recovery path. And so I've been and my experience with that is through a couple of individuals that I didn't realize were in an addicted space over a number of years. And I have someone very close in my life right now that I am hoping will find a recovery path as well. So the holidays are definitely difficult to navigate, and I consider myself the Scrooge of the panel. I don't mean to be, but I can.
Oh, Janice Garner, aka Scrooge. Chris.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Chris Vittetoe, and I come via California right now, but live in Aspen, Colorado. And that's where I choose to build my modalities company. And I have been sober for over a year. by choice, more of a quantum change, so to speak. But my wife's family has a couple of recovering addicts in the family, which kind of led me down this path. And I'm here to support, Alyssa, Christine, and Janice. And, we've gotten to know each other through the recovery coaching. And I'm also an intrinsic health coach as well. So looking forward to sharing my experiences and what's coming through me at this moment.
Wonderful. Thank you all. So let's begin our conversation then about the realities of the holidays. What are the holidays really about? We watch the news and shopping is just going out of the roof, right? People are spending a lot of money, a little bit more cautious, I'm hearing. But so there's a lot of gift giving, and we see lots of commercials with alcoholic beverages. But what are the holidays really about? And this may vary for, family to family or individual to individual, but panelists, share with me, what do you think these holidays are really about, and how can we find that?
Well, for me, it's there's a lot of conditioning that's gone into the holidays and a lot of programming that we grow up with. And, we see it every day. There's multiple holiday parties from friends, people wanting to kind of keep up with the Joneses and show their houses off. And, it's a celebration of some sorts. But I think we've gotten to a point where it's a little bit more about the egos as opposed to the true meaning of the holidays and gathering around family and being thankful for what we're for, whether it's Thanksgiving, Easter, Christmas, whatever the holiday is, we tend to lean in on the programming. And so I'm trying my best to give people the tools to navigate those holidays and look more inward as opposed to, the exterior.
Thank you. John, Sir Alyssa, other perspectives. What are the holidays about for you?
I can jump in if you want. I'll clarify my Scrooge comment. I actually grew up with wonderful holiday experience. I never really had anything negative happen that I can remember anyway. So I had a really positive experience around the holidays, and we always had big, gatherings, and my family worked really hard to make it really fun. There was a religious element to it as well. And I don't know exactly if it's because I have a December birthday or what it is, but I tend to just not buy into a lot of the stuff that comes along with it. So I'd rather kind of condense it into a day or two. And I am very cognizant of how a lot of people struggle through the holidays. And I don't know where it came from. I just know that I have had experience of trying to make a holiday really special for my son, during the time when I had separated from my husband. And that was like one of the worst days of my life, just trying to navigate that and trying to make it special for him and kind of fake my way through it. And I feel like I maybe became a bit of Scrooge after that, and it's become a little bit about surviving and getting through it. And so my son still wants that special experience, but yeah, I feel a little bit fake. And so that's been something that I'm, trying to work on myself.
Yeah, for me, like the reality of the holiday season is people put so much pressure on like a day, or like a time of year. But from my experience, there's throughout my life, just thinking back, there's been a lot of not so happy times around the holiday season. And it's just reminded me that life is still happening, even though, there's so much pressure on it. It's such a magical time of year. It should be the best Christmas ever, or whatever the holiday may be. That, there's still other aspects that might be looming in the background. And I've felt that for me, like family, close friends, just it being a day of just like enjoying being present too, because there was a lot of Christmases where um, I would just drink. It's also my birthday on Christmas Day, so that time of year is just like it was an excuse for me to just like not think about anything that was bothering me. You know, we have holiday parties and my friends are in town, like back when I was like younger, and all of that. So it's been nice the past couple years too to just fully be present and be with loved ones.
So certainly we each have different perspectives on the holidays. And as we prepared for this evening's conversation, we talked about, one is those who have loved ones with them and are planning festive gatherings, whether that be with family or friends, with alcohol and beverages that sometimes go with that, as well as we have some who come to the holidays maybe with grief. And that grief might be because of a loved one that that's lost. It might be a relationship that's lost, someone who is estranged. And so, as we're talking about our experiences tonight, we'll try to touch on all of that. But I think what we'll do is we'll start with Alyssa, who is going to share a little bit of a story in terms of how she's navigated challenges, in particular around grief.
Yeah, so I had mentioned that it feels like there's always something going on in my family around the holidays. I have a parent that struggled with addiction. Um, that drinking got bad around the holidays. And so there's been all these different things, but this past Christmas, so last year, um, on Christmas Day, we got the news that my cousin had passed away due to cirrhosis of the liver due to alcoholism. She was 35 years old. She's 6 months younger than me. We grew up together, and it just brought like it's so I feel like it doesn't make sense, but I wanted to drink. Like that made me want to drink. I had never felt grief before without the crutch of alcohol. And and then on the one hand, a part of me felt like I wanted to drink, but then on the other hand, I was really angry that family members that night at dinner were still drinking, knowing that one of our relatives had just passed away due to her struggle. And so it's just like it brought up all these like all these different feelings and emotions, and it's it I don't really know what to say. It's just been really hard, especially now it's the holiday season again. We're coming up on a year that she's been gone, and it's impacted everyone in our family differently. Like she has siblings, my aunt, she had two kids whose birthdays are also in December. So it was really a heartbreaking situation, and also too like a lot of feelings of like why me? Like why was I able to overcome my addiction to alcohol and she wasn't? I remember when we were little, we had like this pact that we made together, being like, we're not going to be like our family, like we're going to be different, like we're going to uh like we're going to break the cycle, I guess. And so I had forgotten that we had made that pact until after she passed. It came back to me, but yeah. So um, with all of that, I don't. She always made like growing up, we always spent Christmases together, and she always made such a big deal about my birthday and making sure it was separated. And so, as much as knowing that something so sad and painful happened on a day that's supposed to be a celebration for family, and also that it was my birthday, I kind of feel I don't really take it as like 100% negative. I feel like I don't know. I still am like not sure exactly the meaning behind it. I don't know if I ever will. But I'm trying to not see it as a fully negative thing. But at that same time too, like I was in the middle of it's been really challenging navigating like um life's duality. Like during that time, I was on like an amazing cross-country road trip. We were about to extend it 3 more months to go skiing throughout the season, and just like guilt, feeling like how can I go on with this fun adventure while she's no longer here? And so it just brought up a lot of different emotions. And coming up on, this holiday season, I'm planning another ski trip. We're leaving in a couple weeks, and it's just like in the back of my head of like, is something else bad going to happen during this time of year? Or, like feeling guilty for enjoying my my travels. But that's pretty much what I have to share on that. That's coming up for me right now.
Thank you. Thank you. And it was very obvious as we listened to you as well, is that grief and all of the emotion isn't just one constant or one consistent, right? That sometimes we'll see it one way, other times we'll see it different ways. There's polarities that are pulling at us as well. And so I think as you so openly share that, it gives us permission to feel the ups and downs that we might feel around the holidays as well. So thank you for sharing so openly. Maybe now, Chris, if you want to share a little bit about how you've navigated some of the challenges around the holidays.
Yeah, I would call myself, instead of a Scrooge, like the elf on the shelf. And my mom was a Christmas decorator growing up. So the holidays for us were always about Christmas. And my mom was a drinker, and my mom's mom passed of dementia. My mom's sister passed away of suicide, and there was never a real connection to my mom's side of the family. And on top of that, I'm adopted. So there was truly never really a connection for me to look at like grandparents and see the family aspect. So now my I've always wanted that like Christmas vacation, like everyone in the family being around, and you have the crazy uncle and all that kind of stuff. But the more and more that I look back, there's so much like covert family drama that occurs. And what I've realized is that, the majority of people are highly motivated to stay as safe as possible. That's like what our mother brain wants to do, is protect us. And there becomes this disconnect and awareness from everyone in the family of like what the purpose is. And it always revolved around drinking. And almost like forgetting about why we're here together. And it's been hard because one of my brother-in-law, he's been sober for 12 years, and he's jovial and happy, and he's got a laugh that'll clear a city block. He's just great. And then my other brother-in-law, he got sober in the last couple of years. So we've had a couple of instances where they're going at it with each other, and one's calling the other an idiot, one's calling the other stupid, and I'm kind of stuck in the middle. So I've always kind of been in this middle ground, right? And you talked about polarity, and there's a polarity of like being safe and then feeling safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big, like, the space between is kind of where you're trying to feel your way around it. And that's what I think the struggles around the holidays are about. It's like the overcoming of all of these roadblocks that are put in your way, even though you either may not want to be there, or you may just be wanting something completely different. And what you want doesn't really ever happen. So there's disappointment because your expectations are X, Y, and Z. And you've got so many other perspectives in the room, what their expectations are, and they never really live up to it. So that's kind of like what resonates with me around the holidays lately is that just it never really works out the way you want it, but
And
you still have to deal with it.
right. Any pointers then? I mean, because what you've described, many people experience probably in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form in terms of the family drama.
Yeah.
And then you're in the middle and you're saying, what about my expectations?
Yeah. What about my needs?
Yeah.
Exactly. What I've realized is there's never going to be a return back to normal, right? So you have to create your new life, and that requires like intrinsic self-reflection and setting boundaries, which are ultimately the way that I look at it now are they're opportunities. They're opportunities to have deeper conversations. They're opportunities to get over fears, anxieties, or anger. I welcome them now because it's about the connection, and the deeper the connection, the more likely you're able to actually hear the other person. And I think as coaches, part of what we do is listen. We listen to what the other person is saying. And if I can go back in like the total biblical sense of things, we were all like shepherds. And when you break down the root of that, it's like shep heard. I heard that person. I heard what they said. And that's what we're trying to do is shepherd people into the new normal of their reality, of our reality. And so I think having the conversations, just like we're having right now, are what is so important around the holidays. You have to get over the fear, and you have to have the conversation. You just start the conversation. And I mean, that's my biggest tip is just talk.
Yeah. Connection and listening is just so very powerful, right? But it's not always top of mind.
No.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got boundaries in there. Janice, how about you, the Scrooge of the night? Share a little bit about boundaries, because we know you've got some experiences around boundaries, and even day to day. How do those show up or not?
I think the day to day is really the key point here. And it's really standing out in my life in a number of different ways. And I think that sometimes we can give ourselves permission to decide at that moment, at that time, what you can or cannot handle. You have an option, you have a choice. So if you have a big family gathering, let's say, that you're to be at, I suppose you have that option of choosing to not go or whatever feels right in that moment. And the same with when you're working with someone who is struggling with an active addiction and you're not sure what that's going to look like in your family environment. I would argue that there's a number of different ways of looking at it. Is it an opportunity to help move them in the right direction, the direction that you would like them to be, by providing that love, connection, everything else that holidays are supposed to be about, but also recognizing that we can manage some things and other days it's just not there. And I think giving ourselves the grace to accept that, and accept that, the holiday may not be perfect, and taking the good with the bad, and take what you can. Someone said that to me about AA. They were told, if you can't take everything out of it, take the pieces that do work for you, and leave the rest, and that's okay. And so I think there's some important guidance in there. And I don't think there's a one size fits all.
Nice. Grace and compassion for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How does that resonate? Maybe not just during the holidays, maybe we can practice in between, right? Yes. Excellent. And that boundaries, sometimes what I hear you say, Janice, is we set those in the moment. Sometimes boundaries are more stringent, but set what's going to work for you and what works for you as well.
Yeah. And something else that came up recently with regard to boundaries that I thought was really powerful is that you don't need to state the boundary to the person of concern. You don't have to say, this is my boundary, don't cross it. It sets us up to fail. Sometimes you can keep that internal and, and knowing that it's going to be changeable, I
So,
think.
what else is interesting, and I've been doing some work on codependency with a sponsor. Hold on. Peter has just joined us. So I'm doing some work with a sponsor in codependency. And when we were talking about boundaries, he said, have you ever thought, welcome, Peter, have you ever thought about setting the boundaries with your loved one? I had not thought about that at all. But think about it in the context of our conversation tonight, right? What if we open up and have a conversation maybe before the family celebrations and say, what's going to work for us here, right? I'm anxious. Maybe you're anxious too. And decide what the boundary is, how you can create that together. Co-create it, I guess it would be. So, yeah, another way to think about those boundaries. I think, too, another way as we think about the holidays are reframing and setting new traditions. For myself, creating new traditions has really been a gift to myself and to my children. As a single mom, my children would go with their dad one Christmas, and the next Christmas they'd be with me. So initially there was lots of sadness, especially when I was home alone, right? But I learned how to reframe that. That was just another day, and I would have my time to celebrate with the kids as well. But as time went on, and even they became older and they're young adults, I could see how hard it was for them to decide, am I going to be with mom or am I going to be with dad over the holidays? And with that, I just put my big girl pants on and I said, well, what if we do something different? And what if we invite your dad to Christmas at my place? And they were very curious about that. And it was like, oh, really? They were kind of cautious. It's like, is this for real? What is this? Mom's not getting back together with dad, right? No, 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 no. That's not what this is about. This is just about us having some family time. And then I also said, well, and how about all of the kids help make dinner? So they each decided what they would make to contribute to the meal. And one of them brought frozen corn. So you can tell that we did not have a gourmet meal, but it did not matter. And we have a game that we play. Everybody brings gifts and we have dice and we play the game. And that has become a new family tradition. And each year the kids say, thanks, Mom. That meant a lot to us. So I'm just saying that there's lots of opportunity to create different traditions around the holidays. And Alyssa, I know you're creating different traditions as well. Do you want to share with the group a little bit about that?
Yeah, I guess this is the second year where we are going to be in the mountains for the holidays. Skiing is a hobby that I picked up recently within the last year or so. And it's been so fun having an activity to do with my partner, and we both enjoy it. It was definitely a learning curve, learning to ski as an adult, but it taught me so much. But it's been a great new tradition that we've started together. So yeah, it's just been fun.
Right, right. And we're guessing that our audience may have examples as well. So we're just going to wrap up this part of our conversation and then we're going to open it up for the group. But I think I want to summarize a little bit because we've touched on a lot of things in the last half hour. And with that, beginning with the holiday season, what is the holiday season really about? There's lots of social pressures, there's family traditions, practices that we've done just because we've always done them. But instead, might we pause and say, what is it about? And for some of us, that's just about quality time with family and friends, whatever that might be. But think about what is the true meaning of the holiday. And then with that, give yourself grace and space and navigate with compassion, beginning with compassion for yourself. Enjoy being present, and connection and listening could be powerful tools as we each navigate the holiday season. Within that, though, be open to boundaries, whether you co-create those, you set those yourself, you set those in the moment. Be kind to yourself as you set those boundaries. Also, that we all have an opportunity to reframe the holidays, how we want those traditions, how we look at the holidays, what meaning they might bring to us, as well as what new traditions you might create.